Hello everybody, it's Merlin here, and I just saw Hunter x Hunter episode 121, and I believe that was Defeat and Dignity. And I have to say that though there wasn't really that much happening in this episode in comparison to last episode plot-wise, I feel like it was a pretty good turning point both for Youpi as well as to some degree for Morel and Knuckle. Now, just a quick summary, it was pretty much mostly action in this one, like really comparison to the last episode, there wasn't as much going on, not as much exposition, but, well, besides the annoying narration, which, by the way, is definitely one of the things that annoys me the most about the new Hunter x Hunter series. Just, I don't feel like we need to understand every single thing that the characters are thinking. If they're going to explain that, let the characters say it through their own thoughts, or through conversation, or just letting the audience make their own assumptions, honestly. Some of it you don't have to explain. Sometimes I think the series overly explains things. Have a little more faith in your audience. But basically, at the beginning, we saw that Poof had confronted Gon, and now he's basically had him in a corner, and he's like, all right, I'm not going to let you leave. And he's kind of seeing that the wheels are turning, and that he's kind of trying to play against the king's plans a little bit, and kind of sort of do his own thing, much like the other ants are, especially the members of the Royal Guard. But most of the episode focuses on Youpi still continuing his fight with Morel, and basically, Morel gives in. I mean, he runs out of Nen. He's not able to do anything anymore. But he has an opportunity almost to get away because Melaron comes in and uses, I believe it was, God's Accomplice, which basically is this ability. Kind of reminds me of Golo's ability, where he can hold his breath and it allows him to make himself invisible. And if he's touching somebody, he can make him invisible as well. That's his basic technique. And he's about to escape, but just before he's able to, it seems like because Morel's bleeding so bad, Youpi's going to be able to track them down because of the little blood trail he's leaving behind. But Knuckle comes up, confronts him, and says, you know what, I'm done running, I'm done hiding, I'm just going to fight you. And this kind of stirs something in Youpi because he's like, I have all this rage, I have all this anger. That's like my whole purpose, is to kind of just use my anger to use it to defend the king, defend the colony, and just improve the power and dominance of the Khmer ant race. But he's kind of like, a big warrior ant, this being with all these concepts of honor and all these ideals of fair play. And he's kind of says that he's picked some of that up from Poof as well. And he says, you know what, I have to kind of admire that. You guys have fought really hard, and you know what, you guys are at your best right now. I don't have to kill you. I kind of admire your resolve. I admire what you're trying to do. I would want to fight you on equal terms. And he kind of says, you know what, you guys can go. And that actually stirs something in Knuckle as well as the others. I mean, Morel seems like he's kind of almost crushed in defeat. Like, oh man, he's like such an incredibly powerful hunter. He's got all these skills and he had all this confidence, and now it's like he realizes he has his limitations. Knuckle kind of takes a slightly different direction. He decides he's going to stay behind. He's still going to try and continue the mission to some extent, but he knows that he can't really fight Youpi anymore because he sees him as an individual. He says that he can no longer look at him as a target to be destroyed. His ideas about the mission have been clouded, which is an interesting parallel because Youpi's ideals have been clouded as well. He doesn't see the humans as being completely inferior, and he also, for once, makes a decision not to kill them, even though that's basically what he was genetically engineered to do. Whereas, contrastingly, Knuckle says, wow, this isn't just a mindless monster. This is a being who showed us mercy. There's something good in these ants. There's something good in these people. They're not just mindless monsters. But he still says, I might not be able to fight this guy as an enemy, but I can still go after the other royal guards. And that's basically where the episode leaves off, just leaving us on the cliffhanger like, okay, there's going to be a new target now, a new ideal for Knuckle and the others to take on. Meanwhile, Gon's just still kind of waiting, doing what the hero does. Still kind of in a really tight spot though, with Poof there. I mean, it feels like he's just going to kind of recount all the issues that have occurred over the last couple times when Poof was in prison briefly and basically catch him up to speed, which means the next episode we'll probably see what's going on with Hina and probably a little more with Killua possibly. We didn't really get to see much of him either, though he says he's powered up and he's ready to go and help Gon now. So we're probably going to get the opposite. Probably, I'd imagine, less action next time, more exposition. So it's kind of the way it goes. It's like an expository episode with basically catching everybody up and having all these massive plot points coming together, while the next one's just action and straightforward message. So overall, though, still liked it. Honestly, not quite as much as last episode. I thought there was just a lot more going on. There were actually a couple subplots that I covered, but this episode, it was more straightforward. I also felt like even though there was mostly just action, it felt like the action was a lot more limited. There was just a lot less fighting too somehow. But overall, I like it. I actually think that the characters are growing. I kind of like where Youpi went. I think that he's kind of a very interesting character to it himself. Though Knuckles he's still kind of the stereotypical shonen manly man. He's got the the Kuwabara roll thing going on. Though it's more of a triangle. It's, I don't know, cheese wedge. So yes, head of the cheese wedge. He's got a cheese wedge head. Yes, that's Knuckle for you. But overall, yeah, decent episode. Looking forward to the next one. And once again, guys, what do you think of the episode? Any thoughts on this whole evolution of the Chimera Ant theme and discovering their own identity? Seemed like a big step in this episode for that. And yeah, predictions. If you haven't read the manga, so how do you feel they've adapted it? Etc., etc. Alright guys, it's been awesome, and as usual, I'm going to have more videos coming out to you in the future. Merlin out. Peace.